Hello, hello. Welcome back. This is Playboy After Hours. In view of the swinging welcome extended by Chicago's police to bearded out of towners, among others, during last summer's Democratic convention, we would strongly advise Santa to steer clear of Mayor Daley's house while making his annual airborne tour of the Windy City this month. But if neither mace nor clubs nor unsheathed bayonets will stay that merry messenger from his appointed rounds, we expect to read the following front page story in our newspaper on the morning of December 25th. Cops, National Guard nab hippie terrorist on mayor's rooftop. Police and National Guardsmen early this morning subdued a portly hippie and a small group of hooved animals on the roof of Mayor Richard J. Daley's home in the Bridgeport section of Chicago. The middle-aged anarchist, okay, hold on. The middle-aged anarchist carried no papers, but identified himself as S. Claus. He was apprehended while trying to force entry into the mayor's house via the chimney. Claus sported a full, bushy beard similar to that favored by Breatnik poet Allen Ginsberg. He was wearing black combat boots, a bright red Mayo-type suit, and a chronicle red stocking cap in a style worn by terrorists in the French Revolution. Red, of course, is the color traditionally symbolizing the international communist movement. It all started at about 2:15 a.m. when 16 units of riot-helmeted Chicago police responded to an emergency call from the mayor himself, who had been wakened by suspicious noises on his roof. 8 companies of National Guardsmen bivouacked since last August in a vacant lot adjacent to the mayor's home, assisted in the arrest. Taken into custody along with Claus was a makeshift vehicle resembling an old-fashioned sleigh, and 8 tiny deer-like animals subsequently identified by experts at Lincoln Park Zoo as a rare species of Arctic reindeer. Police suspect the animals are stolen property, and a spot check of major zoos across the country is now being conducted. A police intelligence spokesman, while reluctant to speculate about the reason for the animals' presence on the mayor's roof, reminded reporters that hippies last summer, in an apparent act of terrorism, released a 200-pound pig at Civic Center Plaza. Draw your own conclusions, the spokesman told reporters. Arresting officers said that Claus claimed the deer had aided him in gaining access to the rooftop, but their precise role is not clear. Police expect that a psychiatric examination of the suspect TV shut off. Okay. Police expect that a psychiatric examination of the suspect will cast additional light on this unusual assertion. The beasts were found trussed together with a bizarre bell-strutted harness. The Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals has been alerted, and SPCA officials are expected to lodge a complaint against Claus shortly. Just before his arrest, the suspect was heard to speak to the animals. He actually talked to them. One arresting officer said he called them Dancer and Prancer and other deviant terms of endearment, pending a vice squad investigation. conspiracy charges have been lodged against the 8 co-defendants who are being held without bail in the municipal pound. Claus himself has been charged with loitering, disorderly conduct, being a suspicious person, having no visible means of support, disturbing the peace, creating a public nuisance, trespassing, breaking and entering, resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, and harboring unvaccinated pets. After being apprehended, Claus was taken to Michael Reese Hospital, where a spokesman reported that he was treated for a possible concussion, multiple skull fractures, broken arms and legs, internal bleeding, lacerations, dog bite wounds on both buttocks, human bite on right ear, tear gas inhalation, and temporary blindness attributed to overdose of chemical mace. Police said that minimum force was used in subduing the suspect, but that while Claus was being advised of his constitutional rights, he slipped on the icy roof and injured himself. Upon reaching the hospital, Claus' walk was unsteady, and he seemed to be chuckling in a low voice. This made police suspect that he may have been under the influence of narcotics. Blood and breathalyzer samples are now being analyzed. A later police bulletin from the hospital reported that Claus said he and the animals flew to the mayor's roof from a hideaway north of Canada. Police noted that flying is a common hippie slang word to describe a dope-induced high. One police lieutenant quoted Claus, a marijuana-type pipe smoker, as having admitted that he and the animals were taking a trip, as we do every year. Because of Claus' apparent foreign origins, besides his revolutionary garb, he is reported to speak with a heavy accent. The FBI has been called into the case. FBI spokesman said a computer search of government social security census and birth files reveals no record of Claus, which tends to support the case that the suspect is an agent of a foreign power. Federal charges have yet to be filed, but an FBI agent said that if Claus did indeed fly into the U.S., a host of federal charges will be lodged against him. These would include illegal entry into the U.S., non-possession of passport, failure to file a customs declaration, non-compliance with animal quarantine regulations, failure to file a flight plan with the Federal Aviation Authority, piloting an unregistered and uninspected aircraft, flying below legal altitudes, and landing in an unauthorized zone. Questioned by reporters, the FBI spokesman also acknowledged that charges of treason, espionage, and sabotage, all punishable by death, are being explored. He said there will be no announcement about spy charges until the matter can be discussed with the Central Intelligence Agency and the State Department. Still shrouded in mystery are the contents of a large hippie-style tote bag that Claus was attempting to shove into the mayor's chimney when he was arrested. The bag was immediately impounded by members of the city's bomb squad, who are now engaged in a slow process of dismantling, and possibly deactivating the contents. Arresting officers said the sack seemed to contain a number of small and potentially dangerous objects, cleverly disguised as gifts. Among the objects seen were water pistols, baseballs, bats, and motorcycle helmets. Claus was reported as saying these are children's toys, but as was apparent in the convention riots last summer, they would easily be used against the police. Claus was also reported to have stated his intention to give the would-be riot weapons to kids. If this turns out to be true, police say Claus will be charged under the recently passed federal law prohibiting crossing state lines to incite a riot, and he will face state charges of contributing to the delinquency of minors and operating an unlicensed charity. Excuse me. Police spokesman declined comment on the possibility that Claus was a looter. If the contents of the sack proved to be stolen, an investigation of police misconduct can be expected, since not a single officer remembered to shoot to maim Claus before he was arrested, in accordance with Mayor Daley's widely praised directive of last spring. There's no doubt Claus was roundly chastened, a police spokesman said, but I don't think we can say he was maimed. At press time, police opinion was still divided as to whether Claus is a demented dope fiend or a very clever revolutionary programmed by unknown powers to assassinate Mayor Daley. Reporters had conflicted interpretations of Claus' brief remarks at a hastily called press conference in his heavily guarded hospital room. Though his voice was muffled beneath an oxygen tent, the suspect was still heard to mutter, "Ho, ho, ho." Some reporters interpreted this as laughter, indicating that Claus was still high on drugs, but others pointed out that this is a common hippie cry of revolutionary intransigence, overtly chanting the name of the North Vietnamese leader Ho Chi Minh. Reporters agreed, however, that as the conclusion of the press conference, Claus slowly and defiantly placed a finger next to his nose in what was obviously intended as an obscene gesture, and sarcastically declared, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Yeah, that's that. See ya.